Yeah.
I got.
We're good.
I got.
We're good.
I got.
Hello. Good afternoon. Man, we haven't done this. This is like the longest time we could go without recording if we wanted to get one out every week. Like 13 days. I don't know how long it was.
Yeah.
Basically. So much to catch up on. Man, what a world. I mean, I can't think of anything important going on in the world right now, but I have a lot in my life.
Nothing political.
Yeah. Nothing really.
I'll tell you about this nickel I found. I didn't find a nickel.
Speaking of something, well, I found a little gold. I don't know if you noticed. This isn't just a red, white, and blue necklace that I'm wearing. It happens to be a winning medal in the spirit of the Olympics. They don't just give these to anybody that pays $1 at the dollar store. You can't just
pay
get
$1
there.
and get one at the dollar store?
Well, somebody did, but I won it in a contest
and
of
then I won
Wegmans kickball.
Wow.
So just on the heels of that, I'm riding high is basically what I'm saying. Good energy. If you guys are noticing some real good energy, I haven't won a kickball tournament in ages. It's been a while. And,
have you previously won kickball tournaments?
I've
never participated in kickball tournaments. You're alleging that you've won many.
I've been in some. Honestly, it really takes me back to my days of softball, like work softball leagues. That's more what I can compare it to. But, I mean, I think when I was at UT, we won the championship one year. I did one of those coach/shortstop seasons. I was in really good shape. We won the chip. Had a nice little trophy that looked like a baseball glove up on my work desk for a year. Got to keep it like the Stanley Cup. That was probably around 2012, though. So it's been a while.
Okay.
Been a while for your boy. I needed this one.
I was due.
It's so dumb because it's like I didn't even really want to be in it, and I kind of got signed up on one team, and I was like, I'll go, and but it just kicks in, man. That first game, I played first base because I can catch pretty well. But the juices started going. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get a little bit competitive, And our team just kind of worked. We had one bad first inning, and then we caught up. I think we were down 4-1, and we just throttled in the championship. And had a homer, some good catches, survived a rainstorm. But yeah, all for this. This is why we do it. This is why we do it, fam. So we can tie this thing to our headphones.
I guess. Do you feel that you have a grasp on how to kick a home run?
Nope, no way.
Okay,
because nobody can.
Do you have pitch selection do you go like, that's not a good one, I'm letting that one go?
I do, but
okay,
it's more like, is this terrible or not? If it's if it's like bouncing, ba-boom.
There's discretion, but it's like, if this can formulate some sort of offensive maneuver, you're attacking. Like, you're not getting choosy. You're not going like, no, that's a slider. I can't go for the slide. Like, okay, so right, if it's just gonna be a pile of duty and you can see it a mile away, you'll let it go. But generally, you're looking to kick.
Yeah, and I did. Bunts were allowed, and I'll tell you, I was in a pickle because I had 2 fouls on me, and that third foul was an out. So I couldn't go yard, couldn't go for it. So I did. I took a bunt, and I ran it out. I ran the effort. You're a baseball guy, run it out, and I was safe. Scored a run.
Now a bunt still has to go by the normal parameters of like a baseball bunt, right? Like, it has to stay fair.
Yeah.
Off of the foot, it has to go forward. All right, so that's not even necessarily a given.
No.
It could spiral off and go foul. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even know. It's weird being a champion of something very important. I don't know how to handle myself.
Let me ask you this. Did you have any situation, or at least see a situation, where someone belted someone in the face with the ball? Did anyone get plunked in the face? Whether it be a
Not that.
failed attempt at a fly ball or the illustrious, like, second baseman picking up the ball and hucking it at someone.
Not hucking. Someone did get line drived in the face, and the sunglasses came off.
Yes!
And someone also got line drived in the chest.
Off.
We did have the rule, obviously, that you can't target head, all that. But really, kickball, because nobody plays kickball. I mean, there were leagues, like in Austin. I remember there was like a social league, but most people play it maybe once a year, maybe once every 5 years for like some kind of work thing, a charity thing. So nobody really knows how to play exactly. So most of the game is like, okay, no, you can't run when the ball is in the air. It's like explaining a lot of like regular rules and stuff like that, and so I feel like we did it. I was the old guy out there. I was definitely the oldest guy. It felt like, I wasn't the team captain per se, but I was maybe the symbolic captain as the old. I was like Ray Bork being traded to the Avalanche the year they won the Stanley Cup. It's not my team, but I'm going to be there for the chip. I'm going to be there. I'm going to score when we need to. I'm going to bring all my veteran experience, and I'm going to take home a plastic medal. And I'm definitely going to melt down in pawn.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Breathe it, huff it, get some BPA in my life. So,
I mean, hey man, it's Olympic summer. Is that what inspired you? You're like, you know what? In the name of the Olympics, I'm gonna go out and win the gold. Like, did you treat the others? Like, did you treat the other teams as like Team Russia, and you kept like chanting USA? Like, insist that you're Team USA and that they're Team Russia. I think that would have been the appropriate way to handle it.
Yes, and maybe we were the only team with all guys. But they're not going to ask that they're not going to ask that on the scoreboard. It's not going to show up in the history books. Nobody's going to care about that. All we know is that I have a medal.
You had a mixed league and you were all guys? Oh no. What jerks. Or are you equal opportunists?
Nobody has to know.
Isn't it supposed to come to me? Yes, this is how it's meant to be. Every little thing flashing on a screen. Age of convenience. My daddy worked hard for this.
I mean, I do have to say, though, that, kickball, probably out of all games, is a pretty narrow playing field. Like, I don't think it's really about, like, biological structure or strength so much. I mean, it is a little bit, but nobody plays enough. There's technique. Anybody can bunt. Anybody can catch. But anyways, moving on. I can't bask in this glory forever. So we've got a lot on the docket today. I realized. Catch up about. One, had a buddy. Actually, it was Brett. So he was like,
Oh, okay.
sent a Venmo. He's like, hey, maybe I should discuss what's the best soundtrack. And we may have already covered a little bit something like that, but I was thinking like maybe ones that have resonated with us, because you could go down the list of like whatever's considered the best, but maybe if we each have a few that maybe we actually owned or listened to back then, listen to now, or maybe it's like this really works with the movie. Like the movie's awesome because of this soundtrack, and I really like the movie because of it. I was thinking more like just the music itself, but now as I'm thinking, I'm like, some movies are better because of the soundtrack. But I can think for sure of albums that I've had that I've listened to that were soundtracks. And then what else do we have? Producer Steve had an idea of maybe, I've been dabbling in some notes lately, so we'll do that at the end. I'll do a note, but instead of just giving the note, I have a little AI story based on a note. Maybe you can see if you can maybe know what the note was about. That and other fun. Today on Strangely Familiar, episode 78 maybe, with Matt and Jeff. Yes, nailed it. Africa, Maria. I wasted the good theme song on. All right. Oh, you know what we left off on, too, last week? T-shirts, band T-shirts. I don't even know if you thought, you probably didn't think about this then. I'll just give you that. So last week I left off with, there's a particular band T-shirt going around.
Oh, yes.
That I'm like, what the fuck? Why is this the shirt? It must be some TikToker or some influencer, and it's exclusively women and a lot of young women wearing it, and they have no idea who this band is. And I don't begrudge anybody that necessarily, because like if somebody's wearing like a Nirvana shirt, which is very prevalent, Metallica, I've seen some Slayer shirts, and they're like, it's a cool shirt. I'm like, okay, and those bands are good, so that's fine. You don't have to list. I don't really care, but there's, I see it all the time. It is Def Leppard all over the fucking place. I don't understand it. I swear I see it once a day, at least, at minimum.
Really?
But yeah, like, young girls are wearing it. I mean, they have no idea, but I'm like, maybe this is just me, but I'm like, Def Leppard is kind of lame. It's like, they're fine. They had some 80s hair hits. But like, if you're going to go that retro or like the cool band shirt, somebody's got to tell these young women, Def Leppard is kind of dookie. not good way, not great. I feel like all I do is complain about bands now, but I don't understand the Def Leppard. Like, who's wearing Def Leppard? Is it because they're supporting ableism, or I don't know, or the drummer, the one armed drummer? I don't know what's going on or why it's so hot. But dude, I swear, everywhere I see, have you noticed it or you've seen him anywhere?
No, not even remotely.
Shit.
That's amazing to me.
Well, anybody listening, keep an eye out now, because it's Def Leppard, and I'm like, somebody's got to let these people know Def Leppard is not cool.
Yeah, it's definitely. I got to assume it's more for like the font, because they're like their T-shirt font and like the album covers and stuff, like it's flashy, so maybe it's in the same vein as like Metallica T-shirts. Mm-hmm. I mean, terrible. I feel dirty comparing the two, because there is a difference between Master of Puppets and Pour Some Sugar on Me. I do not think that those are similar. So, but I guess that's my only thought is...
It's very strange. Maybe I can pull it up real quick. Def Leppard T-shirt. What do you call those things when it's real popular?
Trend.
Trend.
Jesus,
yes.
God.
I'm
What
on
is
the
word
I'm all about trends.
that the kids use? Riz?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a Reddit post about it. Yeah, some trendy retailer selling them. Okay. It must just because of the font. I don't know. I
That
don't
would be
know.
my theory.
Because you know when you go to like wherever, Kohl's, as we, fan of, Target, H&M, whatever, a lot of those stores have like the graphic tees of just the bands and stuff like that, and people just grab them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe it's a cat thing. I know a lot of women in my life who are really into the cat prints at work, so that could be it.
It could be.
Just
It
matching
could be
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now I want feedback. I want to know if people see this. What's your favorite Def Leppard song? I don't have one. Oh, you passed.
Perfect. Perfect. It's the only band T-shirt you're encouraged to not know the music.
Yeah.
That's
They're
fair.
fine.
That's fair.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry if you're in the band listening. But.
If there's any Def Leppards out there, so sorry.
So do you?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Do you want to add on to that, or you want to jump into some sound
No.
sound trizzles?
No, let's. It's an interesting proposal by Brett. This took me. I had a lot of time to sit and think about this. I'm just kidding. Matt told me this earlier today. Hey, let's consider this. I'm like, okay, I will consider it. Yeah, soundtracks are interesting, man, because when you think about it, in the last 20 years, are soundtracks even much of a thing? You may have a song that people remember from like the trailer of a movie. I can think of like, and I'm honestly like the last 20 years, soundtracks haven't been, the last like big thing is I can think of like the Linkin Park song playing at the end of Transformers.
Oh yeah,
myself.
dark side of the moon or dark moon. Yeah,
Yeah. So like,
that's true. Yeah.
it's very rare that a movie, even I don't even know that soundtracks still happen. But you said like we're not talking about best soundtrack, but rather soundtracks you had or that stuck out to you and stuff. So I did muster up a handful of things that we could talk about. Very obscure. So I hope people aren't looking for like, all right, Jeff like The Bodyguard, and it's like, nope. These are obscure
Purple
soundtracks.
Rain.
I wasn't big on soundtracks, and it shows by the stuff we're gonna talk about. But there should be some stuff.
I bet we're gonna be different too.
Someone.
It just feels that way.
I would agree. So do you want to bring one up first?
Yeah. And there are some good later ones. I'll just name. I mean, just to get your mind percolating, if you didn't think about like kind of later stuff in the last 20 years, or do you have some? Did you end up finding some from like recent?
Nope. No.
Okay. So some recent ones that I think are good. You'll know as soon as I say them, but like Guardians, obviously.
Oh, okay. That's a good point.
Baby Driver. I don't know if you ever saw that one. The kid that wears headphones and he's the driver. Okay. And then Drive, the one with Ryan Gosling. But yeah, now it's like, I think all the soundtracks that get put out are like shows, like Hamilton or whatever. People listen to like just full on productions now. But you're right, they don't hit like they did. There was some about, because we didn't have the access. Like, you had to buy the soundtrack to the movie. You know, it was like, now everything's so omnipresent. Every track, every piece of content is so available that you wouldn't buy like the movie soundtrack necessarily, because you would just listen to the single or listen to the artist or something like that. But yeah, there's some vibes. So yeah, I didn't go the best necessarily, and I also didn't think of like, I didn't put in any like, I don't know if you went this route, but I didn't go like John Williams. I didn't go scores per se.
No. Okay. I'm thinking in soundtrack in the traditional sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, one for sure that I had on CD. I have Spotify pulled up too, so if we want to listen to something or just look at the list. But 1994, The Crow, original motion picture soundtrack.
Sure.
It was big, so it had like big bands, but it wasn't like their hits. I remember, so it had like The Cure, STP. Actually, that was a big hit. I think Big Empty was on there. Which was kind of a banger. Violent Femmes, Rollins Band, Pantera, Rage Against the Machine, stuff like that. So it was like, it hit me because it was like right as I was kind of transferring over. I remember from like hip hop and pop music, 93Q, to like starting to get into alternative music. And The Nerve, 95.1, 95.5, but it was like that kind of music. And I think when I joined Columbia House for the first of 7 times, I think I got that album. And yeah, I listened to it. And it was weird because like, that's the cool thing about albums too, is like, if it had some of the deeper cuts or stuff, sometimes it had stuff you didn't hear on the or wasn't on the album. Like, you could only get it on the soundtrack. Right. So it was cool to like hear, like, I think I had become aware then of Rage and 9 Inch Nails. Those were huge. But then, yeah, hearing the some of the stuff, it was cool. It was very rockish. And then the movie was pretty tight too, so it fit. It all fit like the mood of The Crow. And plus, Brandon Lee died shooting that movie, which is wild. So it's a lot of lore all happening. But it's a good, like, for alternative hard rock, it's a memorable listen. It's worthwhile.
Yeah, that's The Crow, I think The Crow in itself is a whole movie that, I'll go back and I'll watch it and I'm like, okay, I'm not mad that I watched this, but is this a good movie? Like,
I know. Yeah, it's exactly like that.
There's elements. All right. There's definitely elements where I'm like, my memory of this movie and my sentiment towards this movie is probably not like, I probably like it more than it probably warrants, because it's not that great of a movie when all is said and done, but like you still appreciate. I think that's an element of probably nostalgia to it, that like, you know, it brings us back to maybe the age of when you first saw the movie. The tone of the movie is cool. It just exudes, 90s, right? Like that is 90s alt rock, no one understands me kid type vibe to that movie. So I think it's very cult classic, speaks to a generation, but I didn't realize that soundtrack was that heavy with those particular artists. Like that's a loaded soundtrack.
It wasn't like their bangers though. None of them. It was just like,
like you said, there's definitely two different types of soundtracks. One that is a really good collection of banger songs from bigger bands, but a lot of the soundtrack stuff was the smaller stuff, and sometimes, like you had said, not even on albums. But that's also weird too, because you're like, well, how did that come to be? Did someone organize the soundtrack and really go like, no, I'm looking for a song from this band, but I need to know this song fits the vibe of my movie, not just the song that everyone knows by this band. And like, do bands appreciate that their random song, you know, or just the non-singles are put on soundtracks? So like that element is very interesting. I'd like to know what bands' perceptions are, and who there had to have been a person whose literally job was to put together soundtracks.
It was probably the best job, but it was critical. It was like so important, you know, like to get the right vibe, the right sound.
Because it's also, is it songs inspired by the movie, or is it songs featured in the movie? Because those weren't always the case too. It wasn't always,
true.
You heard these 10 tracks in the movie and they'll all be on the soundtrack. Not always the case. I'll give one.
Okay.
Kind of in the same vein. Now, I don't believe I owned this CD because it did come out in the age of burning CDs and such. But I remember it definitely had street cred when it came out, and that is probably more so than the movie. So think of like the Bodyguard. I mentioned that earlier. The Bodyguard soundtrack, and the song more important than the actual movie itself. Queen of the Damned. So Queen of the Damned was a movie with Aaliyah. That actually the movie was released after she passed away, if I'm not mistaken.
I think
came
you're
out
right.
After she died. But the album was put together by the producer of the movie, but also Jonathan Davis wrote most of the music for that album. However, the twist was he couldn't sing the songs he wrote because his contract with Sony said he wasn't allowed to produce extra music, even on a side project that wasn't under their umbrella. So he wrote songs and then had his friends in the industry sing them. Dave Draymond from Disturbed did one of them. Who else was on there?
Chester Bennington.
Chester from Linkin Park.
Deftones.
Wayne Static from Static X. Chino Moreno from the Deftones. Marilyn Manson did one of his songs. Jay Gordon from Orgy. And then you had Disturbed, Down with the Sickness was on there, and Cold, which was on the radio by Static X. So they also had their own songs on there. Papa Roach had a single. So in 2001, 2002, that is a crazy big album to have all of those people on there. But it was that charming aspect that everyone knew that it was like Korn sounding songs that if you listen to these songs, you can tell they are written by Jonathan Davis. And the guys from Korn were the studio band for them, but they had different vocalists on there because Sony literally said, your voice can't be on this soundtrack.
That's wild. Yeah, that's cool. It's such like a period soundtrack too, because it's like 2002, all those like, you know, the I guess you'd call them like industrial metal or something, or sort of like the
new metal's cheap. Nu metal is
something
very
like that.
It's very vague, but yeah, if someone were to say like, give me a definitive concept of what popular metal, how was metal popular in the early 2000s, that would literally be an album you can be like, listen, like this was literally popular music, and it'd blow people's minds.
Let's see if we can. I don't know if this will. Let's see if I can share it. I just want to hear this Chester Bennington song. A little bit, just a short snippet. Let's see if we can get to like a. Oh my God! Wow.
I don't know if I'm supposed to hear anything,
Well, it'll be recorded, but it was a Chester Bennington, and it definitely was like Korn sounding, but him sound. It's like dun, 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 and it's kind of like anthemic. Wow, that was very Korn, but Chester singing it. Damn.
yeah.
You ain't lying. That's the way it is.
F&A, Cotton, F&A.
I'll go with maybe. Here's a later one. Well, what year did this movie come out? I'll have to look it up. I don't know if it was the late aughts or the early tens, but it was the soundtrack for Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Okay.
So I don't remember exactly when it came out. The Spotify has it. I guess it's a re-release in 2021, which doesn't help. So whenever it came out, but there's a lot of music in that movie, and like Sex Bomb is the band, and it's kind of killer. It's sort of like hard rocky, almost like garage style, stripped down rock, kind of like 3-piece style stuff. Like almost like Strokes Hive stuff, but then it had this song by a band called Metric, and I think Brie Larson actually did a song, sang one version of it before, but it got me really into that band Metric for a little bit, and they were kind of like poppy rock kind of thing. Let me see if I can pull this one up here.
I definitely know
Black
the
Sheep.
name. So the album came out August 10th, 2010.
That's when the movie came out. Okay.
No, that's when the soundtrack came out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll pull up a little.
I definitely have
this,
heard of Metric.
Yeah.
Lift you up every time, everyone, pulls away.
It's kind of like that early sort of indie sound, but being like poppy and rocky. And I got into a bunch of Metric songs after that. But I had like, yeah, all the Sex Bomb stuff was really fun. Like, We Are Sex Bomb.
He's saying, "Oh, we are sex Baba," like as in the explosive
I
character
guess
from
kind
Mario.
of that vibe. What's that?
I said just to let people know, he's saying sex Babam, like Bob hyphen
Ba-bomb, yeah. Ba-bomb.
because like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like the moving bomb characters from Mario.
Yeah. But yeah, plus it's a good movie. It's very rewatchable. I like the concept of it. Edgar Wright has some really cool movies. He did like the what do you call it? The zombie movie with what's his name? Simon Paul, is that his name? Was that a guy? Am I thinking of
Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So Edgar Wright directed that movie, whatever the zombie movie was with him.
Shaun of
the Dead. Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, that was good. But yeah, he directed this, and it's just very stylized. It's cool. Obviously, so Michael Cera has to fight all of, what's her name? Ramona.
Aubrey Plaza.
All of her, yeah, Elizabeth Winstead, all of her ex-boyfriends, or ex-exes, not they're not all boyfriends, but yeah. So it's a very rewatchable movie. The soundtrack slays. But it kind of got me into some different rock, a little bit of that kind of garage sound, fuzzy stuff, and a little bit of poppy stuff. So I dig it.
I did watch the movie late. I was late to the party watching that movie. I did enjoy it. A lot of good young actors in it, and but it makes sense that it would have a good soundtrack. It's definitely an interesting style of movie, which
Yeah,
is
it's sort
good.
of comic booky, but not, or it's more video gamey. I don't know. It's like, yeah.
But that's what's, yeah, I mean, it's a charming, different style of movie, which in 2024, I'll take that any day. If you're going to bring something to the table that I haven't seen before, I'm going to give it a shot. That's cool. Let me see. Something more... One of the more recent movies, and by more recent, it looks like 2003 is the most recent one I can bring to the table. This is a movie that, kind of like Hamilton, you either know what this is or you don't, and that is the soundtrack to A Mighty Wind. A Mighty Wind was one of the mockumentaries by Christopher Guest. Those of you that might know his earliest work, This is Spinal Tap. Other mockumentaries like Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show. Well, this was A Mighty Wind, which the documentary, or the mockumentary, is a fake documentary about basically PBS holding a concert of like a super reunion, like a super concert, super show of like all these past folk artists coming together to play this charity show. Well, all of the bands are fake, and all of the music was written solely for these fake bands for this movie. The catch is, though, the actors in the movie are all playing these instruments, and the real catch is this music is catchy as shit. This music is legitimately good music. The artist, the fake artist, Mitch and Mickey, also known as Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy from Schitt's Creek, wrote and performed the song that they were up for an Academy Award for Best Song.
For A Mighty Wind? Like the
For A Mighty
track?
Wind from, well, no, it's from Kiss at the End of a Rainbow. Now, A Mighty Wind is a song on there. But folks, I don't listen to folk music or anything, but some of the songs are so chintzy that they're charming, which was the point of it, because it's a comedy. It's a very, very dry humor comedy movie. But the musicianship in it is actually phenomenal. And, you know, I would say if you're going to play a snippet from it, I would play something from either Mighty Wind or Kiss at the End of a Rainbow. It should be on Spotify. This is a phenomenal
I'll throw up
soundtrack.
A Mighty Wind.
Okay. A little more upbeat.
I think I might have. I don't know if I have the sound or the have it pulled up here.
To every woman, child, and man, yes, a mighty wind's a blowing across the land and across the sea. It's blowing peace and freedom. It's blowing equality.
It's so stupid.
so
It's
good.
catchy.
Well,
But-
I actually love that movie. Like, of all the Christopher Guest, I actually think that's my favorite one for some reason. I don't know why. I loved it. Like, when I first saw it.
It is mine.
Like, it hit me more. I mean, obviously, everything's good. But, like, I loved it. And I think it was because of the music. Like, the soundtrack really made that, I think, my favorite one. Because it was legit. And it was shocking.
Right, that's the problem.
Was.
Is right. You're not prepared that all of these actors are singing all of the parts and the music's actually good. But folks, if you've never seen it or listened to it, you could either pick up the album and enjoy it. But what I suggest you do is watch the movie, then listen to the album. It is available on Spotify, and I guarantee you will be toe tapping because it's a funny movie, and then you'll want to hear the music again because it's good music.
Yeah, it is. I've got next one. My younger sister, actually had this on cassette tape. So we're talking 90s. Okay. But we used to play it a lot. I think when we lived on Nelson Street in our first house, or first house I lived in. But
is this,
Can I
guess this soundtrack?
Yeah.
Why do I feel like I might know it? I'll be amazed if I'm right. Is it a 90s movie?
I'll tell you. Yeah.
Is Matthew Broderick in it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, never mind then. I thought this was something else.
Oh, were you going to say Godzilla?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, I forgot about Godzilla.
Own the Godzilla
actually.
contract?
I had that.
Did you? Okay, you do have that? I'm pretty sure
yeah,
you had it. And
that was with Puff Daddy and Led Zeppelin or whatever?
Yes. I remember for some reason listening to it in like your kitchen in Nelson Street. I have this weird memory now that just got unlocked, a core memory that we were listening to it in your kitchen.
Yep. Man, I forgot about that too. Jeez, that's weird. But this one, like, I think because I've seen this movie so many times, and it's a movie I don't watch a lot now, maybe once every few years because it's so burned in. But the soundtrack fits perfectly. The vibe is so fun, but it's weird. The tracks are a little unique, but it's very carefully crafted and selected, and like many good road trip movies, it has a great soundtrack.
Okay.
And it's Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber soundtrack has some awesome, like, catchy hook songs. Like, obviously the
Like Crash Test Dummies.
Yeah, Crash Test Dummies. I love this song. I'm gonna play the Dead Eye Dick song.
Oh, New Age Girl.
New Age Girl. I love it. It's
Absolutely.
a great song. It's such a good song.
The whole song is actually really good.
Yeah, like, it's in my playlist already. I mean, it stays there, but it goes a little something like this.
I've got a new age girl. Tell us what she's like.
But then, of course, it has Pretty Woman, the Roy Orbison version.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, in a Green Jelly, there's a cool Green Jelly song. I think it's when they're in the bar or something like that. But just, the thing is, and it's like, these songs, this may be one where a lot of the songs do hold up on their own, but I think they all work so well in the movie. Like, when you see the movie, and it's not like the Farrelly brothers, like, really nailed it. Like, every vibe is hit immaculately with the soundtrack. And obviously, yeah, road trip movie, so they hit it with that. And I like it because it's a weird decision sometimes to make. Like, it was like the Star Wars thing with John Williams when they had to decide, how much music do you put in? Like, because 2001 didn't really put in a lot of music at all, but then George Lucas wanted a space opera, and almost the whole movie is score. So, like, is that a good idea? Is it too much music where we're losing out? But no, it worked perfectly, and I think Dumb and Dumber has, like, I don't know, 25 songs or something like that. And they all work perfectly. And I love it. Just the sound of it is nostalgic, but there's some real good songs on there. So it's worth a listen.
That's really good. That's a really good soundtrack, too. That Dead Eye Dick, man. What guy in his 30s or 40s doesn't hear rock? Like, that just instinctively, you just hear it. Or the opening where Harry's driving the shaggin' wagon, the wine gooba there, gooba there.
Oh, yeah.
That whole thing. Yeah. Like, it just unlocks, I mean.
Actually, let's share that. Because that is such, like, you can just see the movie. You can see the movie in your head when you hear that part.
Absolutely.
Like this.
Boom shakalaka.
Shakalaka what the people them want. Woman them a flex and the man them a chant. Got the 60s started off to come back. Drop it.
So weird.
And then, not to mention, it has a Nick Cave song, which is kind of badass. But yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, another weird one. I'll kind of go with these back to back. I'll give two because they're kind of similarly in vein. So one is actually the Clueless soundtrack, and I think this might have been one of the very first ones I actually ever bought on a CD.
I thought you owned it.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, it is heavily with the bands, the stuff that was actually in it, but you have the Counting Crows on there. You have the Beastie Boys, Coolio, the band Cracker, Radiohead, the Muffs, the Kids in America. By the Muffs. But then, like, you also have Where Did You Go by the My Boss Tones, which that movie introduced me to the Boss Tones, and certainly at that age,
because they were in it,
would have been my first. Yeah, they were the band at the college party. And that's before I even got into ska. I didn't know what ska was. So it was a ska band that I was seeing, and I was liking a ska song, Where Did You Go? But I didn't even know what ska was at the time. Because then you had, like, it was still, because, I mean, we were like 12, 13 when that movie came out. So you're still seeing like when they're all posing for photos and Supergrass All Right is playing. I'm like, this is so damn catchy. It's like, we are young, we are free. Like, it's just such happy stuff. And then the song Supermodel is on there as well. So a fantastic, more positive, upbeat 90s type thing. A lot of bands that, you know, were well known, but not their big hits. Like Beastie Boys had song Radiohead. Radiohead on there was Fake Plastic Trees, an acoustic version. But like the Beastie Boys song, I think that was a soundtrack exclusive. So Luscious Jackson was actually also on there. So
Luscious Jackson, they were big.
Yeah, like there was a good amount of contributions to this album. The release date's 1995. It's a Capitol Records release, and yeah, I mean that's definitely a massive lineup. And I just remember seeing all the bands on the pink side strip on the front. The front was like Cher and the other two girls standing on Cher's like steps at the front of the house, and then there was a pink stripe down the side, and they had listed all the band names, and that was something that just caught your eye in. Yeah, there you go. It caught your eye at the record store. Like, that's marketing right there. So Soundtracks had to do it. Soundtracks had to grab you because, like, they had to go, see these band names. You should buy this album regardless of what the songs on the back are. But these are the bands that are featured on. And that was the big thing at Soundtracks in the 90s is it just listed all of the bands on the front because you were like, all right, based on this, all right, there's a handful of bands I like. I could probably go ahead and buy this album and be content with it. So that was a big one. And then one that kind of goes hand in hand with that would be the Basketball soundtrack as well.
Ooh, interesting.
Really
that had Real Big Fish
soundtrack.
on, doesn't it?
It has 2 Real Big Fish songs on it, so obviously no big surprise, but it's also got Goldfinger, Smash Mouth, a band, a New Jersey punk band that was like goofy, silly punk, very similar to like Real Big Fish, but not ska. A band called Nerf Herder. Yes, inspired by Star Wars terminology. Deep Blue
Mouth.
Something was on there.
Cherry Poppin'
Soul
Daddies.
Asylum was on there. Oh yeah, Cherry Poppin' Daddies did a cover of Harry Belafonte, Jump in the Line. That can be seen in the movie. So I always loved this because it was like the humor of South Park for the movie, and then like the style of music that I was really starting to get into, like ska when I was like 15 and 16, and I'm like, this is such a fantastic combination of those two. Again, makes me feel very nostalgic of how I felt like when the movie came out, but like another perfect soundtrack for that movie, given the tone of the movie and the style of music that they chose for it.
Yeah, this is a banger. This was like I think this was the breakout hit of the two really cool movie.
If I get drunk when I'm passed out on the floor now, baby, you won't bother me no more. And I'm drinking well, you know.
Yeah, so that was that's good shit. It fits perfectly, yeah, because it's like a fun movie. Doesn't take itself too seriously, which is kind of what ska is, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's a good fit. I don't know where I want to go. So, a couple one-offs. I remember I did have the Above the Rim soundtrack. That was like when I was still figuring out what I was into. But that's a banger. That was like Tupac. Afro Puffs. But the obviously Regulate was the Warren G banger. That was around for a minute. That song. Yeah, I had it on cassette tape. Everybody, and that's one of those too. Here, I'll pull it up. That's one of those that everybody knows. Wait, do they not have it? Above the Rim, the original soundtrack. Like when you hear this, the beginning of this song, everybody knows it. I'll share it here. This was like, I remember middle school dances with this song. Here we go.
Regulators. We regulate any stealing of his property. We're damn good, too. But you can't be any geek off the street. Gotta be handy with the steel, if you know what I mean. Earn your keep.
Yeah, just song about, being on the streets, basically. Then obviously Tupac and the Dog Pound. It was just, the only thing is I don't think the movie wasn't that good, so it's not like it's hard to hold up. It was really that song. You know what? Here it is. This is the one that got me into some new music. I think 2004. I thought you were gonna say this with that early era. Yeah, 2004. So I think this one is the movie. It's like integral to the movie. It also like wasn't music that I was necessarily into because it was very indie. It was very mellow, but it's perfect for the movie and the vibe, and it's an utterly rewatchable movie, and it's the Garden State soundtrack.
Oh,
so a lot of like the Shins. Obviously, music is integral to the plot itself because like Natalie Portman's wearing those headphones and they share that, but it just works. It's very vibey. I don't even know like what the big hit would be. Probably some of the Shin songs were like, I think big. Yeah, it's like. Actually, I should listen to that. Man, I haven't listened to this in a while. I just got the feels, got the tingles of like some of this kind of vibey stuff. But
Gold teeth and a curse for this town.
and it could be like it could be such, maybe it's a little into itself, a little self-indulgent, but I think it all works, like because it's like almost indie for indie's sake. In a way, like just very like sad about me kind of music, and but it fits.
It's very
like,
indicative
the theme
of
the
that
movie.
time.
Yeah, but yeah, Zach Braff nailed it. I'm pretty sure he had a hand in like the entire soundtrack too. Like I think he wrote it, directed it, all that. I don't think there was
anything that happened with that movie that Zach Braff didn't have a direct influence on.
Yeah, but I enjoy it. I actually want to revisit it again now because I haven't listened to it in a while. But it's a certain vibe. You don't have to be sad, but it's like some days you just want to wake up. You're not ready to have your ears blasted off. You just want chill day, getting your feels a little bit.
It's fair.
Explore your brain and your heart. That kind of thing.
Another one that's kind of again in the vibe of basketball, but I think it warrants it is. The South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut soundtrack.
Oh yeah, did that get an Academy Award or an Oscar or something? Or I mean Grammy?
It got an Academy Award nomination, like a Mighty Wind, because it was a nomination for Blame Canada that actually was up for best.
I was gonna say
song, and it lost to Tarzan and the Phil Collins song. So what they did the following season on South Park is had Phil Collins show up on the show, but always carrying his Academy Award with him. So like that's how they got back at Phil Collins. So
that's right. Oh yeah.
But like the music is of course horribly childish like South Park, but again, it's good music. So it's like a Mighty Wind where you're like, oh my God, the singing along is so vulgar and stuff, but it's really good music. Like it's actually well-written stuff. And I think, being able to do that, and Trey Parker and Matt Stone in general have given themselves the pass to be like, they have the free pass of they make comedy however they want because they attack everybody. I don't think there's a better example of a show that has the pass because it attacks everybody. Like, it doesn't have a political agenda because it literally makes fun of every single person out there. But they also challenge themselves. Like, okay, we wrote South Park. You know what? Let's see if a movie can be popular. You know what? Let's write music for the movie. And then they went on and made the Book of Mormon because Trey Parker was bored. So he wrote the Book of Mormon and made a Broadway show. Like, they just keep challenging themselves. They did the Team America, which is a musical that also was
Killer
done entirely with marionettes. Yeah. Like, just because they're like, I bet I can make a popular movie that's successful and it'll all be marionettes. Like, that's so
all-time
stupid.
Songs
it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Who still doesn't know America Fuck Yeah? And it's just a song about how derpy derp
awesome.
America is with such bullshit stuff, like just naming off American quote unquote things like Taco Bell, Chinese food, Bed Bath and Beyond,
Walmart.
Yeah.
Then when they say books and nobody responds to it,
Yep.
it's so good.
So it's, I love it. I actually found a bunch of burned CDs, mixed CDs, a couple recently, and put them back in my car. And one of the cars, the opening soundtrack is the opening song on this mixed CD is "What Would Brian Boitano Do?" And I'm like, this is fantastic, and I still know all of the words. But just weird, nonsensical music. Like, it's fantastic and truly
do a little
really
Blame
does
Canada.
bring a lot to the movie itself.
No, blame Canada! Blame Canada! For their beady little eyes and flapping heads so full of lies. Blame Canada!
Beady little eyes and flapping little heads.
We need to form a full assault.
Like, it's so dumb that, like, South Park just hates on Canada so much for no reason at all. They
No
just do,
reason.
though.
Absolutely zero
Yeah.
reason. But it's not even
so yeah,
like
it's cool if you
mean.
get
It's just like, it's just silly nonsense type of harassment.
it looks like if you want to listen to it on Spotify, they have some live versions. So they must have played that, did it as a show once before, something like that.
You know what they did? They had the 20th anniversary at Red Rocks, and every time they played the movie for all of Red Rocks, and they had a full symphony pit orchestra there, so that when the music came on, all the music throughout the movie was performed live. Because why not? Right. Again, they challenged themselves, because why not?
All right, maybe I'll do one more.
Okay.
This was, I think when it came out, I wasn't like into it per se. I remember seeing the movie at Blockbuster on the VHS a bunch, but I don't think I was there yet, like, to appreciate what it was. And as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking of another one too. Dang, two similar movies. Wow. Well, I'm going with Empire Records.
I had that
because I've gotten into it in the last like 5 years a lot. Because it's the nostalgia trip going through, but I loved like the vibe of the mid-90s alternative that never really was defined and could kind of sound like anything, whether it had a little bit of heaviness, buzziness, or like maybe like vocally driven. Like, so it's a lot of like, it kind of captures that. It's a good movie too. I really like it. And then I was thinking about a record store. I was thinking of High Fidelity too. So those are like two like. The record store thing, like they fit perfectly. But yeah, Better Than Ezra, like Gin Blossoms. I mean, that's like pinnacle, like mid-90s kind of stuff. Cranberries, Cracker, like it all hits. It's all good. Had this song, A Girl Like You. Let me see if I can share this. Whatever that one was, yeah.
Give me just a taste, so I want more. Now my hands are.
Gin Blossoms. Gin Blossoms are an iconic sound.
Well, baby, I don't want to take advice from
That chorus.
I'll just figure everything.
Just the mellow choruses and all that rock and stuff. But yeah, it still holds up. It's one I've gathered lately, still listen to. I'm trying to remember what was actually on the High Fidelity, because I remember it was, I don't know if it just had 13th Floor Elevators, Velvet Underground, yeah, Jimi Hendrix. I remember Hendrix was in there. Bell and Sebastian, Costello, Janis Joplin. So yeah, he's going through Bob Dylan. So this one is the Smiths. So that's probably why I didn't put it in there, because it's more of like Joy Division. These are more like bangers already. Elton John, yeah, Springsteen. Yeah, these are like very successful. Like,
wow.
They're already hits kind of thing,
Yeah.
It's kind of like Forrest Gump is like just Americana. It's a great soundtrack, and anybody could put it on their top list, and it should be. But it's like every good song
something
in a 30-year
it's also
period.
something you can just put on at a barbecue, and like everyone's gonna accept it because it's just seems like your dad's playlist.
Yeah. But do you have any more you want to add? I mean, I didn't like, same with like Dazed and Confused. Like the way it starts off. I mean, the soundtrack's iconic. movie starts off with Sweet Emotion, one of the coolest scenes in a movie. Like, I mean, but again, it's like every song is everybody knows. It's like I mean, it's just it hits. You know, it's perfect. Well done.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out some.
There was that movie
some
Singles.
Singles. I don't know what that is.
I think, and the reason I didn't pick that is because I know all the songs are good on it, but I didn't know it until way later too. But it was right before Nirvana kind of blew up. So I think it was like 1992 or something like that, that this movie came out. But it was kind of like the world's introduction to like grunge and the Seattle sound. Yeah, 1992 it came out. It's got Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Chris Cornell, like Soundgarden, Mudhoney, Screaming Trees, Smashing Pumpkins, like all like huge bands that came out like within the year. But this was kind of like before it all, they were all huge. So it's a good soundtrack. I mean, I would put it in there. It's like one of the best of all time, but it's almost too on the nose. I would think, that kind of deal.
I was going to throw it out. I think my brother owned this. I don't believe it was mine, but the Batman Forever soundtrack got a really good.
I had it on cassette tape.
That was really big at the time. U2, PJ Harvey, Lenny Kravitz, Seal, Kiss from a Rose was massive. I don't know how that pertains to Batman, but and I'm pretty sure I don't even think it was in the movie, but it was only on like the Batman soundtrack. Which probably helped its sales.
I had a song, an Offspring song that was only on that.
Well,
it's called "Smash It Up" or something like that.
That was a cover of The Damned. That was an Offspring cover. Yep, and was not on their album because that's what I listened to when I would take the album from my brother. And then Method Man had a song. I looked it up earlier. I'm like, oh yeah, Method Man had the song "The Riddler" on there. Wow. Iggy Pop, the Passenger,
probably one of the most diverse
was on there.
Soundtracks.
Yeah.
Iggy Pop. R.
wild.
Kelly, R.E.M., Jewel. For some reason, Goo Goo Dolls,
Flaming Lips.
Wow. Yeah, Flaming Lips. Yeah, Mazzy Star, Nick Cave. Holy shit. What a and it's funny that Seal was the big big hit. Yeah. Damn, you're right. I forgot. I own that on cassette tape. I forgot about it. Yeah, that was. I played that a lot. That's a good one. Yeah, for that era, that's very diverse. It reminds me of like maybe the same year. One that was pretty successful, I think, that I definitely listened to a lot. Cable Guy soundtrack. I owned it. But White Zombie, Filter. Remember it had Hey Man, Nice Shot in that basketball scene. I think Jerry Cantrell solo stuff. There was a Silverchair song. The classic Jefferson Airplane karaoke. Jim Carrey. That's a good movie.
Was it
is
the
that
Jim
what you were thinking
Carrey
of Matthew
version?
Broderick? Was that the movie?
No, Godzilla.
Oh, you were thinking of Godzilla, and then that's right. Man, Matthew Broderick, two soundtrack bangers in the 90s. Yeah.
So I remember
that's
Godzilla.
a good one too.
I remember the Godzilla one being it's so cheesy because you'd mentioned P. Diddy and Jimmy Page. But don't forget there was also a version of Green Day's Brain Stew that during the Durn it, they had Godzilla roars dubbed into the background during that track. I'm like, what are we fucking doing here? I'm like, what is? I'm like, no, we remember. I know it's on the soundtrack. I swear, if this didn't happen, then this is going to be a Mandela effect because I swear there's a version of Brain Stew.
I know you're right,
but where there's roars in the background.
Did they just put it on the radio? Dude, No Shelter, Rage Against the Machine. Ben Folds 5 was on there. Damn. Green Day Brain Stew. Let's see if they have it. Oh, you know what? They link to the album version on here. I can see the album. So they don't put it doesn't have the Godzilla album cover on it. Probably a good decision by Green Day to not go with the I don't know if they had a choice of that, but to not go with the I remember that was the thing for sure.
So on YouTube, there is something on YouTube that says Brain Stew by Green Day featuring Godzilla. So you can.
All right, let's find that. It's worth doing.
Absolutely. Oh my God,
Green
it's so
Day.
good already. I could just hear
Brain
it.
Stew, God.
It's called Brain Stew hyphen Green Day
Godzilla.
featuring Godzilla.
Godzilla remix. I wonder. Oh, Brain Stew. Okay, I see it here. Yeah.
Yeah, it says
gotta get through the commercial.
614,000 views. So 614,000 of you out there in the universe have been like, you know what I need? I need Brain Stew.
Find a
but
good spot for it.
With Godzilla, just do the. It's at 8
Oh
seconds
my
in. It starts
God.
roaring. You don't need to find a good
This
spot.
is
It's at the
good.
beginning.
It is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it has a little bit of a build up.
Yeah, but then listen
Oh,
to it
right.
when it gets into it.
Oh my God! Yeah, let's share this. Yeah, I want to get enough time in so we don't miss out.
Sure.
Have to cut off some of it. Oh my God! I should have brought this up in the Green Day debate.
As an antithesis for Green Day.
Yeah. All right. Oh my God. Oh
It's
my
so
God.
stupid.
That's all time.
Why would
That's
someone
all
think that
time.
that should
Oh
be
my
done?
God.
Oh,
That's rough. It was cool. I mean, it wasn't. I mean,
it wasn't. Nope.
I wonder how much they got paid for that is what I would kind of want to know. Like, hey, we're going to use this hit that you guys have had out for a while. We're just going to pay you to... I mean, in a way, it's probably a cool idea to be like, fuck yeah, Godzilla over our song. That's probably okay. I mean, I think we're okay with that. And then you hear it.
In a couple weeks, I'm seeing Green Day live, and I'm really, really hoping that Godzilla comes out on stage to do his part during Brain Stew.
I mean, Godzilla's been hot lately. Like, he's back. You know, a lot of Kong Godzilla stuff.
Minus
Yeah.
one is big. So, yeah, this would be the perfect summer to do it.
Cool. Well, we're an hour in, so some of the other ones, I think I already said some of the other ones that are considered classic. Yeah, Forrest Gump, Purple Rain, people like The Graduate. You know, Mortal Kombat, the movie. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
That was a big one.
Pretty Woman
as
had
we
a
go
really
out,
good soundtrack.
I'm going to be speaking of movies and soundtracks. A big one, Pink Panther.
Ooh.
I haven't done a scratch off on here a while. I'm going to do it as we're leaving. I'm going to do a little scratching ASMR. I probably should have done this first to see if I would have won anything. But ba-dum. Have you ever watched the Pink Panther movie?
No, I've never watched any of the Pink Panther movies.
I've only seen just the cartoon and the installation, which for some reason was a thing, like the pink roll installation.
Ah, yes, like
Man, it's
sponsored
not
by
looking good.
Pink Panther.
Yeah. All right. Well, looks like loser, no chicken dinner.
That doesn't roll off the tongue.
Well, I thought this would be the day, the last my retirement. It is not. All right.
Guess we'll all keep working then.
Well, thanks for the content, Brett. Easy hour. And send us in. Yeah, let us know. I'm kind of curious. Yeah, what did we miss? What did you share some of your listens and why? Like kind of curious what the people out there have.
We do have another recommendation, but I gotta see if it's viable. So there was a recommendation that we order a Cameo for each other and just pick the person and
we order a Cameo?
yeah, like
Okay.
So the thing is, I'm trying to figure out. So we got
Keep it under $15.
yeah. So the donation for the Cameo was a little bit, a little under, but I think I like in the spirit of it is we should keep it, under $15. You can have them write whatever you want to the other guy.
Oh man.
But there's so many on here. I think the smallest Cameo is oh my God, no. Hold on. The donation was for $5.69 times 2. So it was originally going to be $10 donation, and then we got an extra $1.38 because of 69 cents. So that is for sense of humor purposes. So
of course,
the Cameo has to be $5 or less. No, $5.69 or less. Because I think.
Do we have to know who they are or no?
No, and that's the best part. Is
awesome.
There's Cameos that are under $5 that I'm like, I have no fucking clue who this is. So that's going to be part of the charm. Yeah. And we got to figure out who picks the better Cameo, which we have no control over other than the selection. But who's going to come up with the better Cameo? Who's going to have the better content? But who's going to pick the person that's going to deliver the best Cameo, which we have no control over?
Yeah. And I can tell you, a Cameo is not made by the person who's doing it or the content you asked for. It is made by however it comes out. Because I've done it before with people that I thought would be cool, and they are. But it's funny because they either do a bad job of it, or they one-take it and you can clearly tell they did it, or they misspeak, or they're hungover, or something like that. And that's what makes for a good Cameo, like stuff like that you can't even account for. So you could be going into it thinking like, it's going to be professional, and sometimes it's not, and it makes it even better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't lose.
Ooh, that's great.
You can't lose with this. So do we want to do that for next
let's
show,
wrap up with,
or what are we thinking?
That might be tough, because
we don't
sometimes
have
it
to.
doesn't come right away.
Oh, that's
Let's
a good
say
point.
2
That's
weeks.
a good point.
Episode 80.
Yeah,
they're
we'll
not
try
always.
To, we'll try to
if
have
you want it right
prepped by
away, you
80.
have to. Yeah, you got to pay more.
That's true.
And let's wrap up with a quick story. I forgot about this since we led in with it. Here's a story. Gather, if you can, whatever my note was about this. Let's see. It's pretty well. In the heart of a bustling city, there lived a man named Matt who occupied a quirky apartment where the light switches seemed to defy logic. They controlled nothing. Each switch had a purposeful label like teleporter or time machine, adding to the mystery and intrigue of Matt's home. Friends and guests marveled at the oddity, often joking about the possibility of secret passages or hidden dimensions within the walls. Despite their non-functionality, Matt treated each switch with reverence, occasionally pretending to flick one to activate an imaginary contraption. His apartment became a place of whimsy and curiosity, where the unconnected switches served as a reminder that sometimes the magic lies not in the functionality, but in the imagination they inspire.
Wow. Your apartment
So that is a
whimsical.
story about a note that I wrote in my aforementioned notes that says, my financial goal is to live in an apartment bedroom that has a light switch connected to actual lighting fixtures. So, in my early days,
But that's all
the first
you put
out
in
of college
chat?
days.
That's all you put
Well, I
in
put
chat
write a
GPT?
story about
Oh.
write a 5-line story about living in an apartment with lighting fixtures that aren't connected to actual lights. Because for some reason, when I lived in DC, like every place, I mean, it was a money thing. It was like you live somewhere, there's like an old building or whatever. None of the switches ever connected to either the ceiling light or whatever. They were like connected to some random like plug or something like that anywhere. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm bad off, man. This sucks. Like, I can't even, like, come home and turn my light on with a switch. I gotta walk in the dark to go find a lamp, like, with shit on. Like, I don't know if everybody else has ever had that experience, where you live and you just can't turn the lights on officially, but it was rough going there for a few years. And now I do. Now I live, I can, I think I mostly have functional lighting. But yeah, that was it. I don't know if it paid off, but just think back to those times,
Okay.
the rough days of terrible lighting, and it just made me so mad. I remember I wrote, I was like, just can't fucking. It's not gonna. I remember literally in one apartment had 3 lighting things in the living room, and none of them worked on anything that I could use. I still had to go plug a lamp in and then turn it manually. I was like, why? Why is this the way that it is? I need to make some money and live in a place that has lighting.
Lamps.
All right. That'll do. Cameo, I like it. I like it. I can't even imagine what we'll come up with, but
Nope.
all right. That'll do, fam.
Word.
Hope your thing is a thing. Big gulps, huh?
Well,
Because the movie.
see you next
Mary
time.
Moon, she's a vegetarian.
Texas